Wagner Chief Yevgeny Prigozhin has for the first time released an audio statement since aborting an armed rebellion. He says he wasn't aiming to ask the Russian authorities, but acted to protect his group from disbanding, defending the move as a reaction to an attack on his forces that killed some of his fighters. In the 11-minute audio release, he said that he started the march because of an injustice, stating that his march on Moscow showed very serious security problems. He recalled how Russian towns greeted his men by waving Russian flags and Wagner symbols, while Belarus president offered ways for Wagner to continue operating legally.
Наш марш мы начали из-за несправедливости. По дороге на земле мы не убили ни одного солдата. За сутки не дошли всего 200 километров до Москвы, зашли и полностью взяли под контроль город Ростов. Мирные жители были рады нас видеть. Мы показали мастер-класс, каким образом должно было выглядеть 24 февраля 2022 года. У нас не было цели свержения существующего режима и законно избранной власти, о чем много раз говорилось. Развернулись мы для того, чтобы не проливать кровь русских солдат.
While the Wagner chief tries to save face in a post-mutiny bravado, he failed to provide any details of his whereabouts or plans for the future. According to the deal, he is to be given amnesty and sent to exile in Belarus. Russian authorities have asked all journalists to take a day off today. It was an overly tense weekend with a full circle from a rebellion to a retreat. Wagner Chief Yevgeny Prigozhin started walking the opposite direction to Ukraine. He took control of a military headquarters in Russia and then threatened to march towards Moscow. He even said that Putin made the wrong choice. Soon Russia will have a new president. It was nothing less than a mutiny. Residents were asked to stay off the streets, tanks were rolled in, and President Vladimir Putin made a national address. Wagner faced no major resistance from the Russian troops. The Wagner mercenaries were marching along through towards Moscow. Experts now say that maybe Putin did not mean it when he said he will crush the mutiny, because backdoor talks with Belarus were already underway, and somewhere Moscow knew that Minsk would be able to chalk out a plan, which Alexander Lukashenko did. He has been personally acquainted with Prigozhin for about 20 years. The Wagner chief called off the march, claimed to avoid a bloodshed, but put forward his demands to Lukashenko in a phone call. A criminal case against Prigozhin for the armed mutiny will be dropped. The Wagner fighters will have immunity against taking part in the march. Fighters who did not take part would sign contracts with Russia's defense ministry.
I think from Prigozhin's point of view, he wants to be seen as a Russian hero. He wants to be seen as defending the interests of the state against weak leaders. And so he didn't want to be seen as attacking the state in Moscow. Putin, I don't think, had a choice. He did not have confidence that his own people would stick with him. So he had to offer Prigozhin a way forward, a way out, if you will, to Belarus. And now I don't think we've seen the last of this. I don't see how Putin can stay in power and have been shown to have caved to Prigozhin in this way. And therefore, I think he will go after him. And I think Prigozhin is counting on that.
Wagner is a private military group. It is not owned by the Russian government. The soldiers are not paid by Kremlin, and the one controlling them is not Vladimir Putin. It is this man, Yevgeny Prigozhin. But throughout the last 16 months, Wagner has stood by the Russian forces. On occasions, even fought better than the official military. Like just a week after the invasion last year, Wagner waged a brutal war in Popasnya. This was Russia's first major breakthrough. Then in May last year, fierce fighting took place in Severodonetsk. On 25th of June, they took the fight to Lysychansk. At the same time, Solidar became one of Russia's biggest gains. The fighting went on for 5 months. Then came the flashpoint Battle of Bakhmut. This is one of the bloodiest and longest battles of the 21st century. This left Prigozhin and Wagner much stronger than any other paramilitary. But throughout the war, Prigozhin has not minced his words once. He has scathingly attacked Russia's military leadership, particularly Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and the Chief of General Staff, Valery Gerasimov. He has never, until this weekend, burned bridges with President Putin, but many saw this chaos long coming. Critics are surprised why Putin waited for a full-blown crisis to address the situation. The Wagner Mutiny has ended, at least for now, and with it has ended the biggest threat to Vladimir Putin in the last 20 years. But this will have an impact on the war, morally and on the ground. Putin has been able to douse the chaos, but he is loosening grip over a system which he himself built. Ukraine is already trying to capitalize on the turmoil. NATO is calling out Moscow for its big strategic mistake. European Union says cracks are emerging, but this is all external. This is bound to have an internal ripple effect, and history is testimony that bad wars have cost Russian rulers dearly. So is Vladimir Putin's fate sealed or not? We earlier spoke to John Erath for more on this. He is a senior policy director for the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation in Washington. And this is what he had to say.
It's very difficult to say what will happen next. It's at this point, it's not at all clear what has happened over the weekend. We're dealing here with people whose business it is to spread disinformation, lies, and propaganda as part of their normal operations. So it's very difficult at this point to sort through what is the correct version of events and what the clear implications are going to be for the future. Will this mean that Putin will emerge weaker or stronger? At this point, we still don't know. Where is Prigozhin now? That is also an unknown. He has not been heard from for almost 2 days. He was reported on the way to Belarus, but there is no evidence that he has done this yet. So at this point, there are still more questions than answers.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.